Let's talk, however, to Cash Peters, and let's resume the sort of live-say mode. It's terribly hard, this, you know. Hello.
Hello, Dolly, and now me.
And now you, exactly. Where do we go after this?
It's probably the wrong night for me to be on, frankly. Things are not going well at this end.
No, it's a hard one, isn't it? And yet we just have to carry on. We have to tell people what's happening when we know it. That's the point of a news program. So there you go.
Don't you find, though, I mean, because this is just me projecting, don't you find, though, that people aren't really interested because of the human thing? There's just something kind of, you know, when we used to watch, like, Thunderbirds when we were a kid, and there was all that disaster, and it kind of drew us in a sort of really bizarre, primal way. Don't you think there's that kind of aspect to this? That, I mean, I end up watching CNN glued to it for hours because of that disaster thing. I mean, it's really a bizarre human trait, like that kind of rubbernecking with a car accident thing.
Yeah, you may have a point. I mean, psychologically, you may have a point. There's a very good play, actually, at the moment, which I just saw at the Royal Court in London, called The Heretic. And in this, one of the kind of asides that one of the characters makes is that there's a real sort of disaster culture, which I have to say 24-hour news rather encourages.
Including 5 Live, really. Exactly.
That's where we are. Yeah, we're in 24-hour news.
Yeah, it's very hard to know what to do because, I mean, I'm just a viewer, and I'm sort of hooked on this thing. And any new video they post on YouTube, you just want to watch. And why do I want to watch that? I mean, it's just horrific. And of course, living in an earthquake area, I went this week for the very first time in absolutely forever. I went and stayed in a friend's apartment at the beach. This was the night after this happened, and everybody was freaking out down there. Everybody, and I lay there. Oh, yes, I lay in bed because you know what they did last summer. Down in Santa Monica and Venice, which is just right on the beach there in California, they put up all these tsunami signs saying, in case of tsunami, go this way. And it was like a big arrow. But the truth is that it's all like really low-lying land. So if the tsunami comes in at the rate it did in Japan, everything will just be swept away. Although, you know what's, it's not funny, but I'm just going to give you a really, well, it was quoted as funny on the radio, that Lindsay Lohan, who you know is all kinds of trouble anyway with the law, has a house down in Venice, one of these little kind of beach hut things, which is like very close to the water,
and which she probably paid nearly $1 million for or something.
Oh, I think actually more. They're about $3 million, those houses. But the fact is, don't be jealous, Rhod. Anyway, the point is that they were desirable homes, and the moment she heard about the tsunami, she moved out of her home and went to the Peninsula Hotel in Beverly Hills because it's higher ground. And it's just like, you know, yeah, okay, but it's a peninsula, it's a hotel, it's not an actual peninsula. But she moved out of this house, and everybody, I tell you, but on a serious note, everybody down there was absolutely freaking out. And as I lay in bed that night, about midnight, and I was thinking, I'm on the second floor. You know, this whole thing goes through your head now because California is one of those places. Although apparently Southern California, which is where Los Angeles is, doesn't have that kind of fault. San Andreas isn't that kind of fault that does that thing. It doesn't lurch in that kind of way. It's in Northern California and around Oregon where it has that kind of fault.
Oh, fine. So you'll still be there when San Francisco falls into the bay.
Well, you hope not. You hope not. But it's really, I mean, the fact is that our house here is built on rock. But when we get an earthquake here, we get shuddering, but we don't get anything more than a kind of wheezing sound. And everything starts moving backwards and forwards. It's like when you're a bit drunk and you come home from the pub and the whole world is spinning. But down at the beach, it's just built on nothing. We have a friend whose house is a condo, has a beautiful view of the Marino. She's right on the corner apartment. And when you stand there, the beach is just below her. And I met her on Sunday, and she was sort of saying, well, I'm gone. If anything happens like Japan, I am gone in an instant. It's very terrifying. I mean, it's terrifying to see other people go through it, but it's very close at hand here, and it could happen. And it was only about 6 inches, I think, when it reached our beach. It was only like 6 inches high, but they cleared the beaches, and there were police everywhere, and nobody's allowed to go down to the ocean.
Goodness me. You know, the interesting thing about that coastline, though, is, okay, Venice is flat, but if you just go slightly further north to Malibu, you've got really quite high cliffs, haven't you, where any big wave would be stopped.
Well, you would think. But here's the thing. I was down, if you remember, weeks and weeks and weeks ago, I was down in Malibu. My friends have this house down there. And I was standing on their own private beach that they have. Sounds like I have some really flashy friends.
Yes, you do.
They have this private beach, and they were saying, look who's here. And there's like a little cliff. Now, you don't know the room I'm in, but say this house is about, like up to the roof line is the size of this cliff. So it's not that big. And they were saying, well, Kenny G lives there, and, that horrible clarinetist guy, whatever he is, and Julia Roberts lives there. And I was standing there, and I was thinking, if that tidal wave comes in, this cliff is not going to withstand anything. It really isn't. I mean, it's not that big a cliff. So you're going to lose Kenny G, you're going to lose Julia Roberts, you're going to lose John McCain, Barbara Streisand lives there. They live on small cliffs. So I don't think, if you've got a really serious earthquake and serious tsunami, I don't think these houses would be safe at all. Because how many miles does it come inland? Like 6 miles or something? It's a long way.
Well, it all depends on the seabed offshore, actually, doesn't it? That's the fascinating thing about it. Yeah, because if the seabed offshore has a shelf and it extends out far enough, that seems to amplify the wave. But if, on the other hand, it's coming up, I think this is right, but it's coming up fairly swiftly, then the wave is rather less. I didn't get that involved in the action of the tsunami wave because we got taken by this nuclear business, which is still going on. Yeah.